We are back in the back garden shed. Whew. Today I'm pretty excited because I'm going to be going for a spin on the surf skate. Okay, the surf skate. Let's see what we're dealing with. The model I'm riding here is the Carver Triton. It's got a fairly standard looking skateboard deck, perhaps a little wider than usual, lovely concave. There's a few surfy features from an aesthetic point of view, such as this Griptape design, and also a stringer on the bottom. Also a bit of a surfboard nose, but nothing really that will change the performance of the board. And to be honest, any skateboard deck would work for a carving surf skateboard. The thing that's really making a difference in the performance here are the trucks and the wheels. And the first thing that struck me is the height of these trucks. Oh my gosh. When you stand on the board, it definitely feels like you're higher up. And this has a couple of key advantages. Number one, you can get more purchase for your calves, really lean the board over. And number two, you're less likely to get wheel bite when you do lean the board right over for tight surfing calves. This front truck is designed to be really loose, and you can see the orientation is back to front from a normal truck. This is orientated so you get a super fast turn, and this board will pretty much turn within its wheelbase. Really sharp turns, really surfy, and also the back is designed to feel like a surfboard carving. In terms of dimensions, we can compare it to my regular skateboard, and you can see straight away, oh my gosh, those trucks are a lot higher up. Also, the wheelbase is longer. This wheelbase truck to truck is 20 inches. On my Andy Anderson truck to truck, it's 18 inches. So there's another 2 inches to really get that nice surf stance happening. As you can see, board wise, they're pretty much the same length and pretty much the same width, just a little bit less in the tail. But to be honest, as long as you've got a kick tail and a bit of width and a nice wide wheelbase, it will work a treat for a surf skate. Another key feature are the wheels. These bad boys are 70mm with a 78A compound, so nice and soft, really great for getting lots of speed on rough terrain. Compare them to my 55mm wheels, and you can see there's quite a lot of difference. These are 97A, so a bit harder, and if you catch a rock or a stone or go across a bit of rough terrain, these are likely to cause you some mischief. The first thing I wanted to sort out was my stance. So after a bit of experimentation, I found that placing the front foot just behind the bolts with the ball of the foot pretty much on the centre line gave me some good purchase on the front leg, and placing the back foot in the pocket of the tail but with the ball of the foot again on the tail with the heel coming over the side a little bit gave me some really good leverage for carving and pumping. Having the ball of the foot on the centre line meant that I could engage my ankle as well, so there was even more flexibility for pumping and carving. If I left it on there flat, I sort of lose some of the mobility of that ankle and some of the ability to really drive out of the calves and out of the pumps. The next thing I noticed was a little bit of a surf skate idiosyncrasy due to these super loose trucks and the height and the ability to drive and carve. It's totally possible to increase your speed with all four wheels still on the deck by pumping and carving the board. Do a little tiny tight carve using your body weight and swiveling around the hips, and you can actually snake the board along and create more speed than you started with. This eliminates the need for tic-tacking and getting the wheels off of the deck as you would with a normal skateboard with tighter trucks. And I found this to be a real joy. Once you kicked off, you didn't have to kick off again or tic-tac. There were two techniques I worked on to get the snaky, carvy pump a little bit more efficient. The first one, probably the easiest, is what I'm calling the backside turn. So you're sighted as to where you're going, swishing the hips through, keeping the head in the center of the turn. The more you bend the knees, the better it is, and push the board around the turn using your shoulders and your hips to add the speed. If that's then combined with the second part, a front side turn, so that one is a little bit trickier because you're unsighted into the turn, you're turning back on yourself. I found with that one, again, head and shoulder, looking to where you want to go, and then swish your hips and your knees through. Again, bending the knees really helps. As soon as you've done that, then it's time again for a backside, and then a front side, and then a backside. All the time, your body is doing a snaky motion, and you can get it really efficient so that you don't really feel you're doing an awful lot of work and the board is still accelerating away. Having got a feel for the way she rides, I was eager to take her into the snake run. Whew. First thing was the drop in. I thought these super loose front trucks might buck me off, but it turned out not to be an issue. And I found it a real joy going into the pockets. You can get super deep and super tight. I've recently done a video on tightening my calves in a bowl, and I found that work really paid off on the surf skate. The more I bent my knees up and the more I used my head in the center of the turn and the swishing of the legs, the tighter and deeper I found I could get into the pockets, both front side and back side. I actually found eventually that my knees were touching my chest, and that felt the best for getting a really good tight carve. To keep the speed going, I was using my technique of swishing the legs around and being active right through the carve, generating all of the speed from the core as I swish the legs round. Front side turn, knees up to the chest. Backside turn, as bent as they possibly can be. Started to get a few sneaky runs, but there were some frills and spills. Without the pads, oh my gosh. I started to find after a bit of practice that I could go anywhere in the park without having to kick turn. Even in the half pipe, where you had to do really sharp 180 turns, it's possible to keep all four wheels on the deck and carve those turns round and round and round. Pretty exhausting on the legs, but it's really good for honing that technique of coming up, bending the knees at the top of the turn, but most importantly, swishing the legs and the body through to keep that momentum going. I found that if I didn't actively try and carve through, the board stalls at the highest position of the turn and you sort of fall forwards. So carving those turns round on the half pipe, on the unbanked, uncurved areas, was really good to finesse that carving technique further. The next thing I wanted to try out was a bit of barefoot skating. I thought that would really give me that surfing feel, the way that riding a surfboard on the ocean barefoot would. Loads of board contact, loads of board feel. Also raise the adrenaline levels. Whew, no real available bail at speed with the bare feet on concrete. Oh my gosh, wouldn't want to be running out of anything. As usual, I quickly got carried away, started experimenting with grinding the trucks across the coping. No real bail available. Woohoo! Also got fixated with taking the surf skate into the deep bowl. These loose trucks over that waterfall. Woohoo! Keep the knees bent. I was wanting to see how close I could get to the coping, and I had to stop myself because it was all getting a bit silly. Having got a bit of a taste for riding the surf skate on transition, I was eager to take this bad boy into a pool. Oh my gosh, again, the drop-in was a bit of a concern on that pool coping, steeper transition, but in reality it turned out not to be a problem. She just slipped straight in. Started by getting a few lines around the pool, And then my attention quickly focused on trying to grind the trucks across that pool coping. At first I was a little hesitant because the wheels are very sharp on the edge and they looked prime for a hang up. But in reality, they went across the coping absolutely fine and I didn't feel any difference. So I was going for my front side grinds. And my backside grinds in the pool, putting some lines together. It was a lot of fun. The only thing I slightly missed was the sound of the wheels going across the tiles. These big soft wheels rode roughshod over the tiles, making virtually no noise. The only noise you got was a slight snickeroo as those trucks slid across the concrete coping. However, their grippiness and the speed around the bowl was really, really nice for getting those tight turns with confidence. Even with no pads on, still could send her into the pockets and get a really nice surf experience. Not off. The next surf skate mission I undertook was the pump track. My favourite pump track is made out of tarmac, so a little bit rough and ready. There's the odd stone on there as well. Whew! These big wheels, perfectly suited to getting a bit of speed. Loose trucks, really good for making those tight berms. So I took a spin of the Bartley pump track. Found that the work I did establishing the front side and backside carving turns in the snake run pockets worked really nicely for the tighter berms on the pump track, but some of the berms on the pump track are quite drawn out, so I needed to develop a new technique for those, and that was to hunch down, bend my knees and keep driving through the corner by starting low on the knees and then actually pumping out of the knees, and that, like a soap bar, whew, squeezed me round the corner and helped me to accelerate around those longer berms. I was eager to go as fast as I could round the pump track and make it all round with a pretty much even speed, so I found I needed to work on my pumping technique over the bumps. There are quite a few bumps on this pump track, so loads of opportunity to increase and maintain your speed. When going up a pump bump, I found I needed to push my way up in the air off of bent knees and also press on the tail, lifting the pressure off the front foot as if hurdling the bump. Keep your head pretty much at the same level and make your feet come up so that you're not halting your forward motion, very much like a hurdler would do. And then coming down the pump bump, keep your head in the same level and then just push off of the front foot and the back foot, again soap bar squeezing down. If you do a row of these, your head and your shoulders should stay pretty much the same level, and it should be your legs going up and down like the clappers and doing that pumping motion, just finessing the movement between the back and the front foot as you go over them. Next up, I enabled the GPS on my GoPro, see what sort of speed I could get up to, and this one was my fastest run. Well, that's it for the surf skate video. Whew, those surf skate missions were a lot of fun. I think the surf skate is a worthy addition to any skateboarder's quiver. It's great for really working on developing those carving turns, and also that flatland pumping is a joy, even if you're just going down the seafront, never having to kick off. Oh yeah! I think it could provide a nice feedback loop with your regular surfing, as you've got loads of opportunities on the surf skate to continually develop your front side or your backside turns. You could do hundreds in a session. The only slight difference with surfing is the playing field is always changing. With skateboarding, it's always the same. So you can just get those motor skills for a front side or backside turn really developed. But there's nothing like the real thing with surfing, because it's your ability to adapt to that ever-changing playing field, as well as have the movements that make surfing so tricky. If you have any surf skate related questions, leave them in the comments below. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to hit subscribe. I make new videos every week. As ever, my name's been John Bishop, and I'm a middle-aged guy learning how to skate.